Welcome back to class number 6 in the BullyProof series. I told you, I promised you, I'm going to prove to you there are gifts in being bullied. And it's not me, it's Tan Nyugen. And let me give you a little background about Tan, and we're right into it. At age 3 years old, Tan Nyugen left his home in Vietnam during the fall of Saigon. His mother and 2 sisters went by boat to Guam, then on to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They lived in Section 8 housing, the Ghetto. Because of the Americans' hatred of the Vietnam War, Tan and his family were constantly ridiculed.
You can sense when someone doesn't like you. You know, when they walk by you in the stairwell, they bump you. When they're walking through the door that has to be buzzed in, they close it before you can get to it.
Okay, men and women both doing this to you, or primarily men?
Men and women.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, there were families, I remember families telling their children they were not allowed to play with us because we were Vietnamese.
Oh gosh.
You know, so when you hear other adults tell their children, your peers, that you can't play with me because I'm Vietnamese, I then, as a child, have to question what's wrong with me.
What's wrong with me?
Funny thing about living in the ghetto, to me, there was a hierarchy. And that hierarchy determined who was going to get beat up the most. Every day I walked to school, I had to fight my way to school.
How old were you?
8.
How far was the walk?
It was across the complex. It was a good, it was a good 5-minute walk. And so during this walk, all the other kids were walking at the same time because we all went to the same elementary school. And of course, as we're making our way, the bullies, as they normally would, have their staked out areas.
Guys.
The guys.
How many? 2, 3, 4?
I don't think there was any less than 5, running in packs of 5. And so once they saw me, it was a beeline straight to me. To protect myself or my sisters, I would cut them off at the pass, and it would turn into a fight.
Physical downright fight.
Physical downright fight. And once we were done, they would get, at some point they would say this, they're bored. They'll walk off to school. I'll gather my things. My sister will help me pick up my stuff, and we'll walk off to school too. Because I wasn't afraid to fight back, at some point they just got tired of having to physically fight me.
You did fight back.
I did. Yeah. I mean, it didn't hurt any less emotionally and mentally. It's just I had no other choice. You also have to put yourself in a position where you think, if it isn't just fighting back physically, what else do I have to do to get these guys to accept me? Because if they accept me, they'll stop fighting me, or they'll stop bullying me. And that's where humor comes in. Imagine if you're on the ground and they're bullying you on the ground, and you're like, oh my God, you're so heavy. And all of a sudden they're like, what? It's like, yeah, what'd you eat, man? You're heavy. Or if there are the other 4, minions behind them, and you're like, oh, can I just choose one of you guys to fight and not all of you today? It isn't using humor to be part of his bullying. It's using humor to get him to stop.
Before you went to school or on the way home, did you start thinking in your brain, what if I say this? I could say this to him.
Absolutely. You have to plan and prepare for it. And and that's a skill set I have, a discipline that I have now in the workplace.
Yes.
It's planning.
Yes.
I mean, it's thinking ahead, because you have to really think, what is that person going to say to me in this boardroom? Or in this meeting. Tan
took everything he learned about getting bullied and applied it to his business life, which he's been very successful. His company was very innovative to get videos on our cell phones.
We actually worked with Sprint, and we launched 9 channels on Sprint TV, and those channels I went out and secured mobile distribution rights to companies like Turner Broadcasting, I got Cartoon Network, Sony Pictures and Television, the National Geographic Channel, all the Discovery channels.
But they can watch this on their phone now.
They can watch it on their phone.
I'm guessing you had to go through those struggles to get to that.
Yeah, you do. But during those struggles, you have to choose. You have choices you have to make. Do you let your surroundings control you, or do you control your surroundings? Accept the fact that life's not fair. Realize that there are obstacles. Understand that you are empowered to make decisions. that you don't have to follow. I was told this story by my mom that as a child, you can imagine, you're on this boat and there's water, and like any child, I would want to touch the water. Well, apparently I tried that and I fell over. So I'm overboard. And my mom's story goes, as I fall overboard, she's screaming and the boat's still going. So she's screaming down the boat, and they made a chain and people jumped in to grab me and they pulled me back into the boat. I could have died, which means I'm on a second life, which means I can't waste this life.
Tan's right. We can't let anybody bother us. We have to stand up for ourselves and have to take control of the situation. Helps by laughing at yourself, but standing up to him. You saw what he did and how these skills that we can teach ourselves and our kids can help us further in life. Next one coming up, how you handle people in the workplace. See you then.